Hello, everyone. This is Maureen Donahue-Smith, and I'd like to welcome you all to HSC220, Constructing Madness, the Representation of Mental Illness in Mainstream Film. This is a 7-week course, as you probably know, and you also probably are aware that it fulfills the ILO 10 core requirement. Now, of course, it's easy to see it's a 7-week course just by looking at the dates, but what does this 7-week time frame really mean? It means that it's an accelerated course. That is, that you complete the work for a 15-week course in 7. And as we'll discuss in a few minutes, I've tried to simplify the assignments, but due dates are going to come up quickly, and there are quite a few readings that are important to complete. So if you went by the general recommendation that courses should involve 3 hours out of class for every hour in, this comes out to an expectation that students would spend about 12 hours a week completing the work for a 3-credit course when it's offered in that 7-week time frame. So if you get the impression that there seems to be a good deal of work in this short time frame, you're absolutely right. So we will be moving a bit quickly, and I just wanted to let people know up front. Our goal in the course is to examine the way in which media portray the individuals who are labeled as mentally ill. At least that's one of our goals. Whether films create stereotypes or whether they simply reflect the common perceptions already held by people who go to the movies is a discussion thread that runs throughout the class. In addition to the focus on these aspects of the concern or the problem, that is, the characters and characteristics associated with mental illness in films that we watch regularly for entertainment, we'll also be looking at some proposed solutions. That is, the role of therapists and different therapeutic modalities, and how the movies would have us perceive these treatments. We might be thinking also about how watching these films might affect those who are struggling with mental health issues and their families. And given the statistics of the incidence and prevalence of mental disorders, probably 20% of the movie-going population either is or has a family member or friend who's struggling with some of the issues that they're watching the film about. How do these media messages affect people's self-image who are struggling with these illnesses? And at the same time, do these portrayals of interventions, these Hollywood therapists, increase or discourage people from seeking help? We'll also be looking at the medium itself, that is, talking about some of the basic film techniques and how they're used to create a particular emotional tone or impression. I'm hoping that everyone will come away from the course with both the sensitivity to how mentally ill are portrayed in film, but also with some specific tools for analyzing film. And these can be generalized to a whole variety of topics. I think one of the students in the past said that I'll never look at movies the same way again. And I like to think that that's really one of the positive outcomes of our time together here. As I said, I've tried to keep the overall structure of the course fairly simple. There are 2 textbooks. One is the Wedding Boyd and Niemiec book, Movies and Mental Illness, Using Films to Understand Psychology, and also Skip Dine-Young's book, Psychology at the Movies. There are also, you'll notice, required readings that are linked to each of the modules. There are also basically 3 course requirements. There are discussion boards that will be made available for each film, so that every week discussion questions will be posted about one of the films that you're assigned, and you are to submit your critiques on the appropriate discussion board. And usually they're about, you have a choice of answering maybe 3 or 4 out of 5 or 6 questions. Students then will read the responses of their classmates, and you're asked to provide specific feedback to at least one classmate's critique every week. So again, one of these basic sets of activities we're going to be involved in is answering discussion questions each week on the film assigned, and reading your classmates' responses to the film as well, and responding in writing to at least one of them. The second assignment is basically a quiz. It's a concrete objective test. It's a midterm quiz on the films, the readings, and filmmaking concepts that we've studied up until that point. I will be posting a study guide, so you'll have some guidelines for helping focus your studying for that quiz. The third activity is a group project. I'm thinking of like 2 or 3 students working together um, on using film as cinema therapy. We're going to be reading more about the concept of cinema therapy in a few weeks. Some therapists incorporate films very deliberately into their work with clients. There's actually a book called Watch 2 Films and Call Me in the Morning. So this is going to give you a chance to think about how films might actually be helpful as part of the healing process. And there's a more complete description of the assignment on the syllabus. And again, as I said, we'll be talking much more about this project shortly. Okay, do review the descriptions of all these assignments on the syllabus. There are also rubrics for each of the assignments. Take a look at those so you're sure that you're including all the necessary components. There are 2 documents on your syllabus page. One is the standard syllabus, and the other is a shortened course schedule, which just lists the due dates for the films and readings. So that can be useful in tracking your discussion questions, but do refer to the regular syllabus for other assignments like the quiz as well. You'll see in looking at Canvas that the course content is divided into weekly modules, and in these modules you'll find both narrated PowerPoints and the assigned readings, but there may also be references to other relevant materials as well. I'd suggest checking your announcements pretty regularly, just in case there's some information that would be helpful to you that I want to add rather than just embed it in a module. The discussion questions will be posted for 1 film per week. The questions for Lars and the Real Girl are up now. Links to the films are posted on Canvas, but you may find them available on a variety of different streaming services or even at your local library. I mean, there's nothing special about the film that's attached to this particular link. Any source for as long as it's the cast that we're watching will be fine. Many of these services like Amazon may charge a small fee. I think the most I've seen is about $3.99. The discussion questions are due on Sunday night, and responses to other submissions are due on Tuesdays. There might be a slight change in week 7 because we'll be wrapping up then. But generally speaking, Sunday is the target for your response to the questions, and Tuesday is the target for making sure you've responded to one of your classmates. Around the time of the quiz, I'll set a particular 24-hour period for completing the midterm. I like to do that before the time frame for withdrawal from the course is up, and I believe that that's February 12th is the date for withdrawal. So again, we'll be completing that midterm quiz by February 9th. The final project requires developing a PowerPoint presentation. So I would say in general, if you're not familiar with Canvas, do play around with it, take a look through everything so you know where things are. I know it can be really frustrating when you're submitting something and you have a short time to meet the due date for the assignment, and you can't figure out where or how to upload it. So do take a look at Canvas, and also if you haven't had experience with PowerPoint, maybe as you form your teams, you can decide whether or not it would be worth getting some outside assistance from IT. The presentations are in PowerPoint format because we're going to post them so they can be viewed, and your classmates can take a look at them and comment on them as well. I'll also try to provide an opportunity for us to have some live interaction through synchronous Zoom meetings, at least twice. 7 weeks is a short time frame, I know, and I know everyone has very busy schedules. So I'll try to send out a survey to find a time that works for everyone. In terms of contacting me, the best way to reach me is email. The least reliable is the office phone. I check email very regularly, so if I don't respond within 24 hours, feel free to just send another message. You won't be bugging me. It just means your message may have gotten lost. And of course, for all communication in the course, do use your LaSalle email account. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Sometimes it's easier to arrange a time to talk on the phone than to go back and forth with email for a while. But in general, again, make sure you're familiar with Canvas and think about getting things on PowerPoint. It's a pretty easy platform to use. And do check Canvas regularly for announcements and updates. And I will certainly look forward to meeting all of you in the self-introductions that are due this week as well. Again, welcome to HSC 220.